Thank you so much for being here this evening. My name is Genevieve Wagner, and I am the Senior Manager of Public Programs at the Municipal Art Society of New York. And I run the Jane's Walk Festival here for MAS. I've been at MAS since 2021, so this is my fifth Jane's Walk, and I love running this festival. It's so fun. And I'm really glad that folks are here to learn more about how to get involved. So this information session is just going to be me providing basic information about the festival, how to get involved, how the submission process works. So I'll talk for the next bit, and then I'll have time for Q&A, and then we'll do a really quick little brainstorming session as well. But before I begin, I wanted to shout out some members of the Jane's Walk Steering Committee who are on the call today. For the first time this year, we have a steering committee that is being brought on. This is a volunteer group of people that are here to help support the Jane's Walk team. So Justine and Jess, if you want to say hi real quick. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, and I'm really glad to have these really passionate volunteers here. So also if you attend our in-person info session coming up or any of our trainings, you'll also meet the steering committee in person. So Justine and Jess, thank you so much for being here. So now I'm gonna get things started. And if any questions pop up throughout the night, you can you enter the chat. And as I said, we'll have a Q&A at the end. And I see a message from Andrea. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. That sounds really amazing too. I'm glad that you're interested in leading a Jane's Walk. All right, so as you might know, Jane's Walk is going to be May 1st through the 3rd. It is always the first weekend in June because Jane's Walk is in celebration of Jane Jacobs, the writer and activist and urbanist whose birthday is May 4th. And she spent much of her career in New York City writing and doing activism, writing her famous book, The Death and Life of Great American Cities. But you might not know that she actually spent the latter half of her life and her career in Toronto. So when she passed away in 2006, her friends created Jane's Walk as a way to honor her. So the festival happens in over 200 cities around the world, and New York City's chapter is the largest out of all of them. We started doing the festival in 2011. We had about 25 walks, and now we have over 200 walks that happen every single year. So it's pretty special, and I'm really glad that the Municipal Art Society hosts Jane's Walk as part of our work. And we've been around for a very long time, since 1893, and we advocate for a more livable city. And we do this work in all 5 boroughs through advocacy, education, research, and public programming. And Jane's Walk feels like a really perfect culmination of the work that we do, bringing people together to have conversations about the past, present, and the future of New York City. As I said, the festival happens in over 200 cities around the world. These are some of them. So now I'm going to talk a bit about how to get involved. You might already have a walk topic, an idea of what you want your walk to be. But if you don't, here, some things to be thinking about. Think about what part of the city you love the most, maybe a park or a neighborhood or a street. Maybe think about what are some of your favorite New York City related media, movies, albums, artwork, things that can inspire you, and think about the story that you're telling when you're leading your walk. Also think about what platform you want to lead your walk in. Jane's Walk has been a hybrid festival since COVID. So we have both guided in-person walks, the traditional type of walk, and then we also have virtual options, which I will get into. A great way to also get inspired is to head to the MAS website, mas.org, and look at past Jane's Walk pages, schedules from past years, and you can see what other people have done for their walks. This is a good way of getting inspired, seeing who else has led Jane's Walks, and also getting an idea of how to kind of craft the story and craft like the framework of your walk. Now I'm going to go through some examples of Jane's walks. Like I said, this is a great way to get inspiration. These will also outline the different types of walks you can lead. So the first one is the most traditional. It's the in-person guided group walk. For all of our in-person walks, there is registration, and we cap registration at 30 people. Knowing that there's usually some attrition, but this allows a group that is big enough, but also like allows for conversation and isn't too big and too overwhelming. So this is a guided group walk from 2 years ago, actually hosted by one of our steering committee members, Daniel Pecoraro. This walk was a walk of Harlem, shown through the lens of Colson Whitehead's books, Crook Manifesto and Harlem Shuffle. So Daniel really loves these books and led a walk that highlights different locations that are explored in the books, but also shares history about Harlem during the time the books take place, and also reflecting on Harlem today. So this is a really great example of leading a walk that is really rooted in something that you're passionate about and something that you care about. And it's also great because some people might not know Colson's work, but this is a way for them to be introduced to it. And this walk also had people that were super fans attend. So it's a great way to introduce people to things that you're passionate about, but also have a space for you to convene with people who have these shared interests. A little side note, Colson actually showed up to this walk because his editor found out that someone was leading it. So that can happen, kind of cool. All right. Oops, sorry. Here are some other examples of in-person walks. These are all from last year. And these are really fun examples. The first one is about advocacy and about environmental justice in Sunset Park, led by an advocacy organization. The middle one was a foraging walk led by a professional forager in Astoria. And then the last one was led by Takesha Edwards, and this is a really great walk that was about forgotten waterways in South Queens and highlighting that history. And then our next type of walk that I'm going to talk about is also an in-person walk, but this is something that we created during COVID, and it's a self-guided on-demand walk. So the format of this walk could take a PDF, a document, could be a podcast, something people can access on a device or print it out and take with them on a walk in person. But this is usually like a solo excursion that they're having. They're taking themselves on a walk, but it's in person. It's just self-guided. So this example was hosted by the Brooklyn Greenway Initiative. This is a self-guided walk of the Naval Cemetery landscape. So the Brooklyn Greenway Initiative hosted this walk, and they had these printouts that people could pick up at the cemetery landscape, and they could pick them up anytime between 11 on that Friday of Jane's Walk through the end of the day on Sunday. So people could, come on their own or with friends and take themselves on a little tour of the Naval Cemetery landscape. So they can do this at their own pace. They can do it on their own time. Maybe you have like a park or a space like this that would be perfect for this. So maybe you don't have time to lead a walk on your own, but you could use a space like this, and have people take themselves on a walk. If you have any questions about how to make a self-guided walk, let me know, and I'd be happy to chat about ideas. And then here are some other examples. These are all from last year, really creative examples. The first one is a sound walk, and it was a recorded play, audio play about Coney Island Avenue. The middle one was a really great document of places in New York City where you can go to mend a broken heart. And then the last one was a creative walk that was reflecting on sights and sounds and things that you see in Gowanus, and it was creating a kind of capturing what Gowanus looked like and sounded like during that first weekend in May. And then this option is another one that came out of COVID, virtual walk. So it is like what we're doing now, having a lecture on Zoom, This is a great option if you have a lot of imagery you want to show in your walk, if your walk takes place in a lot of different locations around the city. This example was led by Rebecca Bratsby's, who's a CUNY professor and wrote the really great book Naming Gotham, which explores the stories behind how certain places in New York City have gotten their names. So this book has examples from all around the city. So Rebecca was able to use Zoom to show imagery and talk about history that took place all around New York City. So another great option. Also a great option for people who don't live in New York City, maybe can't go on a walk, can't leave their house. Really great example is a virtual Zoom walk. I'm going to go through a couple more. This is similar to the second example I had, which was the self-guided walk that's in person. But this option could be accessed on a browser or at home. So this doesn't require the attendee to go in person to the location. They can if they want. This example was created by my former colleagues, Rana Zaman and Steven Albanese. They did such a great job with this. They used GitHub to make this like mapping, this collection of imagery and maps exploring this block on Steinway Street in Astoria. And they had images that they got from Google Street View, and they highlighted specific businesses and histories on this street. And if you want to access this one, you can go to the Jane's Walk page from 2024, or I can send you the link if you want to get some ideas for how they designed it. But a really great option if you want to highlight what you love about your neighborhood, or you also want to, maybe you love map making or making a blog sort of format. This is a really fun way to do that. So happy to share more examples if you want to email me. And this is our last example, I believe. This is similar to the Zoom lecture, but instead of doing a Zoom lecture, you're using either Zoom or Instagram Live or Facebook Live to do an in-person walk. So this is a great example from the NYC LGBT Historic Sites Project. For this walk, the walk leader had their colleague holding a phone and walking with them all throughout Greenwich Village. And then the walk leader, Andrew, he pointed to different historic buildings and places that had significance in this history. So it's a fun idea if maybe you don't like leading big tours, you don't want to lead a big group, but you still want to talk about history. So this is a really fun example. If you want to watch a recording of this walk, you can go to their Instagram account and get some ideas. Also a great walk option if you want to engage with people who don't live in New York, can't go on your walk. Great example. All right, so those are some examples. And now I'm going to talk a bit more about leading your walk. Maybe you've led a walk before, you know a lot about the logistics and how to do this, but I'm going to go over some tips and some ideas from the Jane's Walk team. So on average, people usually lead walks that are between 60 and 90 minutes. Just so you know, in the submission form, it's a pretty long submission form, just heads up. It's pretty lengthy. But in there, you're going to be asked how long your walk will be. So this is like the average amount, and just select the amount that you think your walk will be. If you think your walk would go 2 hours, maybe put 2 hours instead of 90 minutes. So people who are attending know what they're signing up for. And then on average, the stop amount is 5 to 7, but it really depends. I recommend that you do quality over quantity with your stops. It's okay if you can't get to every single stop that you want to get to. Can always leave people wanting more. They can always return and visit certain places you weren't able to, but plan it out, realistically with like quality over quantity. And at the end, you can always be like, oh, and make sure you check out this after or in the future. Because you don't want to overwhelm your group, and you also like want to be able to really like thoroughly talk about the places that you are visiting. When you are filling out the submission form, we also ask that you choose a specific starting location with an address and landmarks. This is helpful for the attendees. They'll get this meeting location when they sign up. They'll also get a reminder email. but there are a lot of walks happening simultaneously all throughout the city this whole weekend. So it is helpful for people to know exactly where to meet you and that you also go to that location. You'll be given in the Jane's Walk packet that we send all of the walk leaders, you'll be getting this church fan, this yellow church fan, and you'll be holding that up so that your group can also find you that way. So keep that in mind. And then some other things to keep in mind as you're actually planning and researching your walk. We recommend that you do your research. It's okay, of course, if you're not an expert. These really are, walking conversations, so it's okay if you don't know everything. But we recommend that you do your research, use the library. MAS also has a library and archive that is available if you want to do research with us. So know your stuff, take notes. It's okay if you have notes with you. And on that note, we do recommend that you practice your walk. Both you practice what you're going to say, but also you go to all of your stops. You map them out and you practice how long it'll take you to talk at each location so that you really feel comfortable and like used to the cadence of your walk. If you want to bring a buddy with you and go on the walk with a friend and tell them your walk, that can be a good way of getting, once again, used to the public speaking and talking on your walk. So practice it, map it out. If you want to have printed maps for people, you can, but also just good for you to map it out so you really feel comfortable with all the locations. It's also important that you go to the walk locations, even if you know the neighborhood super well. Sometimes things are under construction or there's scaffolding or a certain attraction is closed during a certain season. So those are things to keep in mind and to plan for as you're planning your walk. And another thing, I mentioned a buddy for when you're practicing your walk, but it also can be great to have a co-leader when you are actually leading your walk. This person can be there to help take a head count. They can be there to help keep the group together. Especially if it's your first time leading a walk, it can be really great to have a co-leader. It's pretty common to have one. So also keep that in mind. And in your submission form, you'll be asked to list the name of the co-leader if you're having one. So I'm sharing a lot of information today, but we are also hosting an in-person information session that will be at the Greenpoint Library. That's on March 26th in the evening. So if you want to dive even deeper on what I'm sharing today, you can go to that session. This session I'm doing right now will also be recorded and put on YouTube later this week, so you can also reference it that way. And then if you choose to lead a walk, we will have some in-person trainings and virtual trainings that will be happening in April. These are really great, really fun. The in-person trainings, those are a walk leader taking people on their walk and being able to answer questions in real time about walk leading. So that can be really great, a really great way to visually see how a great walk is done. And then the virtual training will be a lot of the same information I'm sharing tonight, but we'll go a little bit deeper, have even more time for Q&A to make sure you feel prepared to lead your walk. And then lastly, we're going to have a walk leader orientation in April as well. That will be a time for us to answer any questions in person, for you to meet the steering committee, and also for you to meet other walk leaders. And that will be at our office in FIDI. So keep those things in mind. Registration is open for the in-person info session, and I'll send a thank you note or thank you email to everyone who attended this. And I will include a link where you can sign up for the in-person session if you'd like. Some other resources that are available as you plan your walk, as you decide if you want to lead a Jane's Walk, are our FAQ, which is on the submission form website, and then also our walk leader training guide, which will be added to the website soon. This has great information for researching your walk, has some great resources and places where you can source information, source imagery if you're sharing any images on your walk. And it also just has other examples of walks and is a good way to prepare you for the festival, especially if you're a visual learner and you want to be reading. And then I'm gonna go over some important dates and things to keep in mind, and also some other things about the submission form. The deadline for Jane's Walk for submitting a Jane's Walk is on Tuesday, March 31st. The submissions opened on the 13th, so usually we have like a month and a half. So March 31st. And when you're submitting your walk, like I said, it's a really long submission form. We recommend that you put your answers in a Word document before you submit, just in case like you get distracted, because you can't like save the submission form. So put your stuff in a Word document before you submit it. You will be asked to come up with a title and a description for the walk. The description doesn't have to be super long, but we recommend that it just gives a nice overview of what the walk will be exploring so that people who are looking at the schedule, choosing what to sign up for so that they know what the walk will be about, they have a good understanding of what they're getting into. You don't have to include like all of the stops you're going on, but just a general vibe of what will be explored, making it exciting and catchy. Another thing to keep in mind is that in the submission form, you'll be asked to choose what date and time you want to lead your walk. Just choose the date and time that you actually plan to lead your walk. Just so you know, we do accept basically every walk that gets submitted. So we ask that you just commit and choose the date and time that you want to lead your walk. You're also welcome to lead your walk multiple times. People often will lead their walk twice or sometimes 3 times. So you can choose multiple dates and times if you plan to lead it that many times. And if you decide that if you submit for one time, but you decide you want to lead it another time, you can always email us and we can add an additional occurrence. On that note, walks will often sell out. And by sell out, I mean they will reach capacity with the signups. And if that happens, we'll email you and we'll ask if you want to lead your walk another time, add an additional occurrence to the calendar. So just keep that in mind if you want to lead another walk at a different time after it sells out. You can definitely do that. After you submit your walk, you'll receive a copy of your answers. We ask that you read those over so that everything looks good. After the submission deadline, we will email you with some other important dates and information about leading your walk. Before the schedule is announced, we'll send another reminder and telling you when the schedule will be announced, which is slated for the second week of April. And once the schedule goes online, we will email you and ask you to check out your listing, make sure everything looks correct. But if you have any edits to your submission, we ask that you do make them before the schedule goes out. Just makes it easier for us. The same goes for if you have a certain image you want us to use for your event page. Please send that also before early April. Yeah, but any questions about that, you can email the Jane's Walk team, which the email is on the screen right now, janeswalknyc@mas.org. The thank you email I send will also be coming from that email. So you'll have that at your disposal. And then, yeah, May 1st through the 3rd is the festival this year. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like I said, we have over 200 walks that are happening. And in total, it's like 250 walks, thinking about walks that have multiple occurrences. So a lot of walks are happening simultaneously, which is really exciting and fun. So it's a really wonderful community to be involved in, and it's a really vibrant weekend that's happening in New York. So I'm really glad that folks are interested in getting involved this year. And then these are just some logistics to keep in mind for day of. These will also be like dove in deeper in at the in-person info session and then also at the training session. But good to keep in mind. Feel free to take a photo of this. This recording, as I said, will be on YouTube. But yeah, just some things to keep in mind as you're planning your walk and as you're thinking about what the day of will be like. As I said, we do take registration for walks and we cap walks at 30 people. Sometimes we'll overbook them if they sell out, but like I said, there's usually some attrition, so you can expect 30 to 40% drop off usually. And when people sign up, they'll get a confirmation email with the address for the meeting location. In the submission form, you can also check if you want your phone number shared. You can also check if you don't want it shared. But if you check yes, the phone number will also be in the confirmation email. That's just so people can get a hold of you if they're running late or if they have, mainly if they're running late before your walk. But on that note, people will be able to email the Jane's Walk team and our events team if they do have any issues or also running late or have any questions about the walk. So most questions about logistics and things will be sent to us, but if someone's running late, they'll use, your phone number. But leading up to the festival and during the festival weekend, our Jane's Walk team and our events team, they are available to answer any questions that walk leaders have. And we're also available to answer any questions that you have. So I want everyone to feel supported, like they're able to ask questions and either share questions via email or get on the phone with us if they, want to talk through their walk or if they have any questions or concerns leading up to the festival. So just know that our team is available to support you as volunteers. And yeah, we encourage people to spread the word about the festival, about the open call, and then also about your walk. So like I said, there is this Jane's Walk packet that will be sent to all walk leaders. You will also get an email that has like digital flyers that you can send to your network. You can send to mailing lists that you're on or newsletters. In the packet, you also get printed versions of those cards. This is an example from last year. And you can put those on bulletin boards and coffee shops near your neighborhood, whatever, and just spread the word both online via social media, but also in person. So yeah, and we'll make sure that you have all those assets and all that information closer to the festival. So yep. That's about it for me. As a reminder, submissions are open through March 31st. And I really appreciate everyone's interest in this festival, and I'm going to take some time now to answer any questions you might have.